no. Mm, 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 no, 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 mm, no, 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 ba, ne, ba, ge, Mama,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episode 7 Review, The Hub. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D's 7th episode, titled The Hub, pretty much perfectly represents what the show as a whole has been all season, an uneven, at times irritating story with some interesting character developments sprinkled in from time to time. While it was nice to see S.H.I.E.L.D., the agency, be further exposed as an even more shady organization than we previously thought, the storytelling machinations that it took to bring this point home, namely Sky's insubordination, never rang true to me, so I was never fully invested in the story to begin with. But thanks to some great performances by Clark Gregg, as always, and Ian DeCasteker, the show was given enough of a human element to, for better or worse, keep us watching until the end. The plot, based on intelligence gathered from an agent who was rescued at the episode's onset, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents return to the hub to find out, courtesy of Agent Victoria and Saffron Burrows, that there is an overkill device, in South Ossetia that separatists intend to use in the next 24 hours. The device uses sonic vibrations to trigger weapons from far away, so it could potentially be used against anybody trying to stop them. They need to send a two-man team in for this level 8 clearance mission, but one has to be able to disable the device, which means that the nerdy chatterbox Agent Fitz will have to go in with square-jawed killing machine Agent Ward to do the job. So, Ward and Fitz are sent into the Caucasus Mountains to cross the border, sneak into the facility with the device, and disable the device. In the meantime, Sky, who's still nonplussed that she's still under punishment for completely betraying her team a few episodes back, doesn't quite get why she can't know everything that's happening everywhere to every agent in the S.H.I.E.L.D. verse. She also wants to use the hub's fancy computers to try and find the unredacted files about her birth parents. Under the pretense of finding out where Ward and Fitz are, she commissions Simmons to help her hack into the system, but they get caught, and Simmons winds up assaulting Agent Sitwell in a panic. However, through Sky's hack, she discovers that there is no extraction team for Ward and Fitz and that they were sent in on a suicide mission. Either way, Coulson is not amused with Sky's active defiance. She's been directly told to trust this system, but Skye is having none of it. She tells Coulson about there not being an extraction team for Ward and Fitz, and at first, Coulson doesn't reveal what he knows of the mission to Skye. It is only upon his confrontation with Agent Hand that he confirms the plan to abandon Ward and Fitz, and Agent Hand, in turn, tells him to trust this system. Truth Smackdown. Ouch. Of course, by episode's end, Fitz has successfully dismantled the overkill device, and Coulson has the cavalry swoop in to save Ward and Fitz from the separatist goons with the guns. The last thing we see is Agent Coulson calling S.H.I.E.L.D. to get access to restricted file BKCY 307,604, which happens to be a death and recovery report taking place in Tahiti. And even Coulson's level 8 clearance can't get him access. DAAAMMMN. The thoughts. There were a number of things that bothered me with this episode that are just dying to get out, so unless I want my heart rate to continue to be elevated, then I better just get it out of the way. First of all, let's discuss the divisive character, Skye. At first, I didn't understand fan annoyance with her. I think that Chloe Bennet for the most part does a pretty solid job of playing the quirky, way too hot to be a real hacker. And she continues to do perfectly fine, if not spectacular, work in this episode. But holy hell if she didn't annoy the crap out of me here. Why in the name of Asgard would this girl, who is still trying to get back on the ends with father figure, Coulson, completely disregard his orders and risk being banished from the S.H.I.E.L.D. ranks forever? It was just last episode that she was kvetching to Fitz and Simmons that she hadn't fully earned Coulson's trust back. And now she's going to potentially blow all of the good graces she's won back to hack into the hub's mainframe, or whatever the hell you call it, to find out where Fitz and Simmons are. As if there aren't hundreds of other agents that are doing just that on this very important level 8 mission. Okay, so there weren't really, but Skye didn't know that. It was just such a knuckle-headed move for someone on such delicate ground in the first place, and for someone we'd been led to believe was eager to regain trust with Coulson. It really seems like a storytelling cheat to make a character do something so out of character, just so you can make your point that S.H.I.E.L.D. sometimes engages amoral activities, like dumping 2 of your agents off to die without telling them. Could there have been another way to do this? Maybe making Simmons sick with worry over Fitz being in the field, and her begging Skye to help her find out whether they were safe. Seems feasible to me. And what really gets me going is that since she happened to discover that there was no extraction team, there may be absolutely no ramifications for her defiance. There are rules, people. Phew. Feeling better already. Now, on to the next bit that kind of bothered me. The whole "what happened to Coulson after he died" plotline has been addressed in some form in every episode since the season began. Yes, we're told Coulson seems different. Yes, we know that he recovered in Tahiti. Yeah, we know that he doesn't quite feel like himself. Yes, we're pretty sure that S.H.I.E.L.D. did something kind of messed up to him to revive him. We get it. Talk about an overkill device. Something's off, and Coulson's been aware of it for a while. So, why is he just getting curious now? Why, of all days, does he choose to start asking questions if it's assumed he believes he's had the right clearance to get the information in the first place? It just seemed weird to me that it took this long for him to act on his, and everyone else's, obvious curiosity about his miraculous resurrection from the dead. This just felt tacked onto this episode because the writers know that they have to pace the dissemination of this info in a particular way, and it just happened to wind up at episode 7. Once again, we're subjected to characters behaving uncharacteristically, and, like Coulson's recovery, it just didn't feel right. The silver linking to all of this was Clark Gregg, who still managed to bring dignity and dimension to this particular scene, as well as the ones he had with Joe Bennett. Okay, now on to what I thought worked. Strangely enough, one of my favorite aspects of tonight's show was the development of Fitz's character. And I say, strangely enough, only because I had been annoyed with both him and Simmons the majority of the time, until quite recently the development of his character had already begun to a certain extent in last week's episode, FZZT. And it was the talents of Elizabeth Henstridgeny and a Sticker that brought a lot of soul to the sorely underdeveloped lab duo. Here, Decay Sticker's performances Fitz was blended with the right amount of his standard humor and genuine sincerity that really succeeded in endearing me to him, and perhaps making him one of my favorite characters. Given what his character has been reduced to up until now, nervous, witty, science bebel, Decay Sticker really shined in this episode where he was put into harm's way along with resident badass Ward. Though I enjoyed their interactions overall, especially when Fitz asserts that he's just as good a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent as Ward, Decay Sticker stole every scene that he was in with Brett Dalton handily. Add to that the scenes that he shared with Henstridge were the brand of adorable that I wish they had always been up until now. Saffron Burrows was also a welcome addition to the cast as sly super agent Victoria Hand. With the little screen time that she had, Burrows managed to make Agent Hand a compelling, morally gray character that I hope we haven't seen the last of. While her character seems perfectly intent on following S.H.I.E.L.D. policy and keeping its dirty little secrets, she also seemed somewhat pleased that Coulson went ahead and put together an extraction for Fitz and Ward in the end. Unless that was her diabolical smirk. The Hub was another uneven episode from a show that seems to be awkwardly stumbling towards some kind of big moment that weaves together a lot of its dangling threads, some more interesting than others. The writers may have had some of their characters do some things that defied reason, but thank God Decay Sticker was there to infuse the proceedings with enough heart to not make it an entire loss. Related items. Recent comments. Keys autumn veli reprehenderat kiani evoluptat velat esiquam now molestia consequator, felilum ki dolorum. Temporibus autem quibustem et aut offices debitus at rerum necessitatibus apaveniat. Copyright 2017 Geek Binge. Theme by MVP Themes powered.
No. No.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Latest comic book Easter eggs. This week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had a lot more Easter eggs in its basket than previous episodes. Here's a breakdown. Happy Easter. Sort of. After what I can only describe as a drought of comic book references, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back strong in the most recent episode, diving into S.H.I.E.L.D.'s recent and distant past. To be fair, some of the references were really more movie references. In turn, comics had tips themselves. But we take what we get. Dutiful passes at corporate synergy, or heavy wading into an ocean of comics obscurity? You decide. Triskelion. Advertisement. The classified hub, a headquarters for S.H.I.E.L.D., seems nifty, but even Fitz acknowledges that it's nothing compared to the Triskelion. That's not only a comic book reference but also, it seems, a look ahead to the next Captain America movie, if early scenes are accurate. In the mainline Marvel Universe, the 616, S.H.I.E.L.D. has multiple headquarters around the world, including the massive flying helicarrier and, my favorite, a place hidden underneath a barber shop in New York City, accessible via elevators disguised as the barber shop chairs. But in the revamped Ultimate Comics universe basis for much of the Marvel Cinematic Continuity, S.H.I.E.L.D. also works from the Triskelion, a huge building apparently on Governor's Island near Manhattan. It also included a prison for superpowered bad guys, who often escaped, causing all sorts of problems. Advertisement. Level 8. I'd forgotten until reading up about this episode that the idea of 8 levels of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents was in comic continuity. On the show, only people at level 7 and up are allowed to know that Phil Coulson survived the Battle of New York, at least that's what they implied in the pilot. Back in the old days, each level came with a color-coded uniform, and Executive Director Nick Fury was the only occupant of Level 8. Or Level 1, depending on how you look at it, I guess. HAMMER. How sad is it that now I'm trained to freeze frame past signage? As our heroes walk past a directory-type sign in the hub, one of the sections listed as HAMMER, well, more precisely, a fragment reading, ham, so I guess it could be the Hammocks division. But I'm guessing probably not. HAMMER was the agency that briefly replaced S.H.I.E.L.D. when it turned out that the latter was infiltrated top to bottom with shape-shifting aliens called Skrulls. In the Ultimate Universe, and in the cinematic one, the name gets changed to the Chitauri. After the invasion, the President of the United States reorganizes S.H.I.E.L.D. under the leadership of millionaire industrialist Norman Osborn. This turns out to be a terrible idea, since Osborn is not only completely nuts but also a supervillain, the Green Goblin. Since the Goblin is primarily an enemy of Spider-Man, we're not likely to see him show up on the TV show. Spider-Man is off-limits to the Disney-Marvel continuity. Jasper Sitwell. Many of the early S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in the comics were old war buddies of Nick Fury. In World War II, Fury led the Howling Commandos, an improbably multi-ethnic unit of unstoppable soldiers Fury often called, lovingly, Yahoos. Fury's second-in-command, the bowler-wearing Dum-Dum Dugan, eventually became his number 2 at S.H.I.E.L.D., and you can see these guys show up, unnamed, in the first Captain America movie, too. Sitwell, though, I wasn't forged in the same comic book crucible. He was a young, by-the-book S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, supercilious and less improvisational than Fury and his guys. So they made fun of him a lot. Victoria Hand. In the comics, Hand is another one of those multiply allied S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. She bounces back and forth between working for Osborn's HAMMER, Nick Fury's S.H.I.E.L.D., and S.H.I.E.L.D. when Captain America had abandoned his superhero identity and taken over running the agency. The red streak in her hair is comic book authentic. Overkill device. Ah, obscurity, how I love thee. S.H.I.E.L.D's arch-nemesis agency, HYDRA, is always building world-destroying technologies, and, unlike the Russians in Doctor Strangelove, HYDRA always remembers to tell people it has a doomsday device. The Overkill horn was one of these gadgets, able to use sonic vibrations to simultaneously set off every nuclear weapon on Earth. Plus, what a great name, right? Content. This content can also be viewed on the site it originates from. Previous comic book Easter egg recaps. Episode 6. Episode 5. Episode 4. Episode 3. Episode 2. Adam Rogers writes about science and miscellaneous geekery. Before coming to Wired, Rogers was a Knight Science Journalism Fellow at MIT and a reporter for Newsweek. He is the author of the New York Times science bestseller Proof, The Science of Ooze. In Scandinavia, role-playing weekends get immersive and extreme. This LARP seemed like fun until my queer American brain snapped. HBO Max was a big swing Emmy machine. Its merger with Discovery Plus will mean more casualties of the crap you love. From Serial to Netflix's Jeffrey Dahmer series, it's time to think about what pop culture's fascination with murder cases does to viewers and victims.